My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is, if getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
As a small business owner, you deserve more. More confidence, more connectivity, more of the tools that help your business thrive. And at Cox Business, you can expect more from us. We don't just have sales reps. We have perfect plan identifiers. People
Hello, good evening. It's the last day in March 2021. It feels like we've already gone 9 months into the year, doesn't it? Doesn't it feel like it's 2021 has lasted forever?
It's so weird. The last 2 years have been the longest and still moved faster. I don't know. It's weird. It's like
it is weird.
The days go fast. The weeks go long, or the weeks go fast and the months go long. It's so weird. It's just everything's surreal.
Yeah. I'm done.
Yeah.
I am so done with COVID. I am really thinking about moving to Florida. I'll just live by myself. My husband loves Colorado, but I just can't do it.
Well, there's a lot to love about Colorado.
We might extend the mask mandate 2 more weeks again.
There's a lot to not like about Colorado.
Yeah. I love the state as far as the people and the mountains and all of that stuff. But holy hell, are we like full blown as blue can be?
Maybe. I mean, you guys have like same day registration and stuff.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah,
that's why. Isn't it interesting? Once we did all these voting laws, we went completely blue. And not just blue, like really blue. So.
Right. Well, it's, I think it's gone beyond interesting and gotten pretty obvious. I think so, I mean, you know about the Georgia law. We passed a law where it does include, we've had voter ID for a while, so it kind of, that part of it, the voter ID part of it is getting all this attention. Well, we've had it for years and had the last several elections record turnout over and over again with voter ID. So how is voter ID suppressing the vote? That's what they're making a big deal about, and then not giving people water in line, which is also just a big fat lie, and just what the law actually does is say this is still against the law that's been against the law for 150 years, but we're adding passing out water and snacks to it because it's against the law already. You're just using this to get around it, right? So you're using this to break the law, so we're going to write it into the law. That is all the law did, except for extend voting hours. We went from 14 to 21 days of early voting in this bill. We solidified drop boxes. There are drop boxes all over the state now because of this bill. There will be. But it added monitoring to them. Where you can put them is defined and monitoring them is defined. And they don't like that. They don't want them monitored.
Right. Oh, yeah, because you can't just ballot stuff.
It's very obvious what they're doing. And the frightening thing about it is the people that they're getting on board with calling it voter suppression or racist or Jim Crow or whatever the person at that moment might be calling it, because it's all of the above. That's what they're saying, all of the above about it, and it's none of the above. It extends the opportunity to vote. You just have to prove that you are a single person. That's it.
So that you don't get your vote stolen again.
You are one.
Yes,
exactly.
It makes sense.
90% of people in this country, according to recent polls, believe that only U.S. citizens should be able to vote. And the reason that was even polled is because H.R. 1 says that non-citizen residents should be able to vote, which means that basically Indians and Chinese people would be picking. People who live...
Oh, yeah.
Whose citizenship is in India and China would be choosing our president, which is not okay.
No, come on. It's ridiculous. Other countries don't even have such crazy laws.
But it's not even 80-20. It is 90-10. But the fact that 10% of people even answered that, yeah, sure, non-citizens should vote. No, they shouldn't. I think the Constitution's pretty clear on that.
And honestly, though, I'm scared if it did go to the Supreme Court as a Constitution issue, because it doesn't seem that Roberts is even, cares about the Constitution anymore. So I don't know.
I can tell. This is what I believe about the Supreme Court. I don't care who is Chief Justice. I don't care who is a justice. There's a personality on that court that is more powerful than all the other personalities put together, as far as I'm concerned. And if Clarence Thomas gets tired enough, I think he knows exactly what to do to wrangle the other...
God, I hope so.
To wrangle the other Republicans, I do. I mean, there's any number of things that he could do legally, like speaking out. I mean, RBG...
I hope so. I hope
did
so.
Many interviews and said so many things about exactly how she felt about stuff. If Clarence Thomas started doing that, I think the rest of them will probably get in line.
I hope so. So this was part of the game tonight. We were going to just say a topic and then have the other person rant about it, like our wine, the red wine. So we launched into the voting thing. And I do have to say, the thing that bothered me today, did you see what Delta tweeted? Or what what their statement was about Georgia?
Yeah.
How, they think it's wrong.
Right. Go ahead.
But in order to fly, what do you need?
A license. Yeah. Exactly. So people that can't fly on your airline should be able to vote. No.
Well, it's ridiculous. You have to. It is not asking. And I saw where they said how easy it would be to get an ID. How they were going to make it easy for people to sign up and be assigned a number even that would go to your ballot.
We already make it easy. When I went and got my driver's license, I got my voter card in the mail 5 days later.
Yeah, that's the same with us. That's the same with us.
They didn't ask me if I wanted to vote, to register to vote. They didn't say, here, register to vote. They just sent me my card. All you have to do is go to the DMV to get a license or and I believe that North Carolina is the same thing, or a picture ID, which of course you need for everything.
Right.
And they automatically register to vote. It's called Motor Voter in North Carolina. And they did the same thing. But in North Carolina, they actually ask you and have you fill out something separate. But in Georgia, it's automatic. Here's your voter card. And I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot they did this.
Yeah, and in Colorado, you have to sign something, too. It's not automatic, and you would think in our blue state. But it doesn't matter anyway, because we don't do... You can do same-day voter registration, and there's no ID. You can show a bill if you needed to, but most of it is mailed. We do mailing here, mail-in ballots. Very few people go in person in Colorado. And once they started that... they do supposedly signature verification. I mean, I don't know. When you saw what happened in Wisconsin where the one signature, they're all the same signature for all of those.
4,000. So here's the thing about the Delta CEO's letter that really is really disturbing, and it's disturbing across the board. Like, even if you try to Google this story, it's completely buried. Even the Cheryl Atkinson one is completely buried by Google, but you go over to DuckDuckGo and it pops right up. So 400,000 absentee ballots cannot be verified. Their chain of custody cannot be verified. In other words, there are 400,000 ballots in Georgia that don't know where they came from.
Exactly.
400,000 absent. And the Delta CEO's letter said that the law is based on a lie. A huge part of the reason for the law is that they have 400,000 ballots that they should have never counted, but they still haven't backed out of the tally at this point. And if they did, Georgia would have voted for a different president
and senators.
If at least Georgia. We don't know about other states.
Right. But at least Georgia, yes, which is exactly what everyone was saying. But now if you say it, you are an insurrectionist. So
well, no, it's because it's been memory hold, and it's not true anymore. It was like Cheryl Atkinson and American Thinker and Gateway Pundit and the local news in the state printed it or published it, and that's it. That's all. It's nowhere else. CNN has the whole disputed claims thing. It's not disputed claims. Our shitty Secretary of State did an investigation, and there are 400,000 ballots that cannot be verified. That they have no idea where they came from.
And it's nuts because when we I can't remember if we talked about that here on the show right away when that came out. I did post an article immediately on Facebook about it, and it got taken down.
About what happened in
the
Georgia?
400,000 ballots. Yeah, I posted a link. It might have been Gateway Pundit. I think Gateway Pundit automatically is on a watch list on Facebook. If you post anything of theirs, I think they're going to take it down. But it was up for maybe just a few hours, and my brother actually called me and was like, "What the hell? Like, why isn't this on the news?"
Yeah, because it's inconvenient.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
well,
that's the only reason.
It actually gives Trump some validity.
Right, and the phone call that we now know wasn't even, none of that
that was
real
fake
either. Right, and the phone call has more validity, and they've already had to backtrack that, but this would just be a bridge too far, I suppose.
Yeah, it's very sad because I think, and we'll get back into our game here, but I just want to say, I don't know about everybody else, but I kind of went through a mourning period through that whole thing because I guess I just believed in the checks and balances. Yeah. I believed that you could have all these votes, but we had the envelopes to compare to, so no matter what, at some point it was going to get audited and corrected.
Right.
And none of that happened, not in any state.
And the same thing Right. The same thing happened to me, but the reason was I realized at some point in the process, probably, I don't know, by mid-December at least, that what they were proving to us was that there is absolutely nothing we can do to contest an election once it happens, and not just proving it to us, those of us who are like, something's not right here, but those who are doing it, those who perpetrate, anyone who may have perpetrated a fraud during this election, learned that they could continue to do that, and there's nothing anybody can do because the courts will say we're not getting involved.
Exactly. I am glad that Arizona, I guess, is their state legislature. They are doing an audit. They're actually going to sit down and do an audit. But is it too late? Like, is everything destroyed? Is there everything still there? So, I mean, I don't know.
What could happen from people finding fraud and knowing that there isn't anything that they can do right now is that they will put something in place that it doesn't happen again, which is exactly what Georgia is doing. This whole thing was, it's surprisingly calm in the outskirts of Atlanta. Nobody here is really upset about it except for this family member that's not speaking to me, but I don't know. Because you know me, Jody, I'm the Q cultist because, people didn't have to drag me kicking and screaming into not hating Trump. But at any rate, that's a whole nother story. Maybe a different show. But yeah, I mean, it was relatively calm around here, but the whole thing was just a mess. And all of us, everybody I've talked to about this that isn't just a screaming liberal is like, it's just weird. It's so surreal. Even though this state, over the past 100 years, has been through plenty stuff just like this. I mean, not even that different. It's like, I think I was telling Orty this. Every 10 years, it's like 10 years of peace, and then 10 years of this, and 10 years of peace, and 10 years of this, and it's been this way since before I was born, which was a long time ago. So everything that all the other states are going through, I mean, it's just like, it's a cycle for us. We're used to it. But this was weird. So
yeah, it was very weird. And it was, I guess I lost my patriotic innocence. I lost my patriotic virginity this last election.
I'm sorry.
It was that depressing.
The Patriot Act did that for me. All right.
Well, that also was bad, but this was really bad.
Yeah. Throw me a topic.
Speaking of Patriot Act, COVID passports. That's what I'm throwing out there. COVID passports.
No fucking way in hell.
It is insane that the same people that are angry that Georgia has a driver's license requirement, or excuse me, an ID requirement, wants. I don't get it. I don't get it. They want a passport for your vaccinations.
I promise you, if they do it, the first people making you have it is the airlines. Guaranteed, yes. Delta will be the first one to stand up and say you have to have a passport to get on a plane. Guaranteed.
Right.
So I don't know what that dude's problem is, but he's from Atlanta, and I imagine that's probably it. I'm sorry. He's from. This is even worse. He's from New York. He's lived in Atlanta forever.
Oh yeah,
forever.
Yeah, worse.
And that's way worse. But
yes,
because he's a know-it-all Yankee. In Atlanta, looking at us like there's something wrong with us when we've been like. I'd like to know how many black people this guy even grew up with. Like, how many black people? I looked at his history. You know I did, Jody. I looked at the school he went to and the town he came from, and it is all lily fucking white. And so is he. How black was the town he grew up in? Because mine was 60%. And you know what else? 90% of us got along.
Of course. Of course.
And I don't know a town where New Jersey neighborhoods, 90% of those people don't get along. But if you go to my little town down south that's 60% black and 40% white, and in the county it's a different mix, but if you put it all together, it's about 45, 55 white, maybe 45 black, something like that. It's a 50-50 split, basically.
Right.
They get along. The blacks and whites in my hometown got along for the most part, always have, and they ignore this shit for the most part. Most people are like, I gotta plow the field, don't bother me.
Right.
But anyway, that's
yeah, I'm with you. It's bleeding heart liberals that don't. They're making it worse for everyone.
I went back to the last topic. So I'm really sorry about that. But they're going to be the first ones making you have it. So it's very hypocritical. And the fact that people are like, oh, you can't, it's racist to ask somebody for an ID to vote. What is it to ask them for a passport to get into a restaurant? And by the way, the Constitution specifically prohibits internal passports.
Well, is it a HIPAA violation, do you think?
I do agree with Ron DeSantis that it is also probably a HIPAA violation because it's medical information but they give it to you and you have to give it to somebody else, right? So they think it's probably fine, but it's still medical information, and the government is saying that private entities can demand that medical information from you. Private entities that aren't covered by HIPAA unless they plan to regulate all those businesses and their HIPAA. So this is how this could potentially play out. And you know this because you come from the industry. They could require the passport. They could require businesses to check it or give them a rating, right? They could say,
right,
well, you get an A+ rating if you require it and you get a B rating if you don't. Or we're going to knock off immediately, just knock off. Well, anyway, I could go on, but it's.
No, I agree with you. That's exactly what they'll do.
Right. And then they'll say, and you have to keep the information so you can prove to us that you checked it and that everybody that came in had a passport. But since you're going to keep this information, now you have to be regulated under HIPAA.
Right.
I mean, this is these are the crazy right under your eyes tricks that they play on you to grow the government. That in and of itself is a goal. Just to make it bigger. The more bigger it is, the more powerful it is.
And it's conditioning us. So now we have a passport for vaccines. Next it'll be something else. Next it'll be how many guns we have. We have to show that. It'll be all sorts of things. And I realize that sounds like a tinfoil hat, but who would have thought 10 years ago that this would have been something?
Well, it would be. It might be tinfoil hat if it weren't borne out by history. I mean, the history of our government over the past 50 years, specifically 60, 65, but definitely 60, has been to ease us into a more compliant, more regulated, bigger government, sending them more money. I mean, so it's just not, it's not far-fetched.
Actually, it's rather terrifying that at some point my grandchildren will just be used to the government controlling everything, government controlling housing, government controlling, it'll just be nuts. Speaking of that, next topic, did you see the new death tax that Biden wants to propose?
No.
So it's floating around out there that he's actually discussing for the first time ever taxing capital gains on property that you inherit. So my farm, for instance, my ancestors acquired in the late 1800s. What do you think the cost difference is between the value of it then and the value of it now?
So, and that's exactly why he's doing that. And that hits the middle class and business
exactly.
owners. Right. And even through the pandemic, who are the least compliant group? Who are always the least compliant group? Who are the ones that are always bitching about taxes? Middle class and small business.
Yep. Yeah.
Most resistant.
Right now, a lot of the farmland across the United States, people may not realize this, is bought up by China, is bought up by, there are Russian, right next to my dad's land, it's Russian owned actually. So it's some big company and a local farmer rents it from them. But I just think that's scary. You're just going to have big businesses owning the land.
Well, big businesses and foreigners. And I mean, down south, big businesses have been buying up the land for a long time. So much of it is owned by Monsanto through Golden Peanut. So yeah, there's a lot of it that's been going that way for a long time down there. But I mean, I don't really know. Well, I mean, I think hadn't Trump didn't he put some things in place to prevent some of that, or?
I'm not really sure how this new bill will work. Now, this is just something that Biden administration is floating out there. It could go nowhere. I just know that one of my friends that's an accountant, I sent that story to him immediately, and they were like, yeah, trust me, there's a lot of scary shit being floated out there right now.
There is, and one reason is because there's so much of it is payoff to one person or another. That's probably payoff to China because there's going to be so much more land available.
And Bill Gates, Mike just brought it up in the chat room. He was buying up all that pasture land, cattle land. So, him too.
Yeah, and he's probably going to put windmills on it.
Yeah, probably.
Probably. Yeah. And that's, that just really, that bothers me now because I drive by land all the time, and I'm like, does he own that? Because I'll burn it. Not really. I'm kidding.
Well, this is the thing about windmills, and there is so much infrastructure that goes into creating a windmill, and you are destroying the land under the windmill. So, I mean,
I can't. It blows my mind that anybody could look at a windmill and think, this is beautiful at saving the environment, and look at a parking lot and think that it's awful. Not that I think parking lots are great. I prefer grass.
Yeah, they're both ugly. Yeah.
They're ugly, and it's metal, and you can just look at it and tell that they destroyed a bunch of crap to build it.
Well, and the birds that are constantly being killed every day because they run into them.
It blows my mind.
They're disgusting.
It blows my mind that you are an environmentalist and you could look at this metal contraption with, being run by, there's oil and there's like petroleum fuel or natural gas or something that's like a backup or something in there. And then if they freeze, you put petroleum products on it. People are dumb, Jody. People are just dumb.
People are dumb, and they have very short memories. Ian had a great thread the other day. Next topic, guns. Yeah. Ian had a great thread the other day about we just don't remember how through the last hundreds of years how many times governments have stepped in and seized your gun rights and what's happened then.
Ian's thread was all the 20th century. It was all since
1921. Is that right?
Since the Soviet Union did their gun crackdown, which I think was 1921, which was very shortly after, right? So it was within 4 years. Well, actually, no. Well, it was within 10 years. So. Yeah, that was all. It was the Khmer Rouge. It was Vietnam. It was North Korea, China.
Yeah, it was just Cuba. Amazing how many countries and people do not learn.
It wasn't even all of them. There were a lot in Africa. Well, not a lot, but there were a few in Africa that he could have included. But it would have been. My only point is, if it had been all of them, it would have been 10 tweets longer, probably.
Oh, yeah. One of 482.
Which is just the 20th century, and it's actually only 1921 to 1970 or 1975 or something like that. So it wasn't even that long. It was like this. Here's 15 examples of 50 years of gun confiscation that ended every single time. Right? So it's like if it's much easier to count the number of times that it didn't happen, because throughout history it might be 5.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And the thing that really bothers me is the fact that after all of this education and all of this chatter, people still don't even understand what an AR-15 is.
No, they understand just fine, Jody. They understand just fine. It's a mass obstinance, a mass obtuseness. They understand just fine. They know.
Oh, well, and here is the other thing that is rather telling. You have the attacks in Georgia and on the massage parlors, and they immediately go after the guy and say this is because of racism to Asians. We have the attacks here in Colorado. No discussion at all about the Muslim guy that actually was on a watch list. No discussion of that at all. It just goes right to gun laws. So they are so disingenuous.
Yeah, it's every topic tonight has been this, but I talk a lot about information warfare, and that's what this is. They're convinced that they have been successful enough in convincing 20 to 30% of the population that of whatever they want to convince them of. It really doesn't matter, right? So they can get kids in high school, make them sunrise kids, and make them believe that Donald Trump is going to blow up the world for the sake of America, right?
Right.
So, everything is this. Everything that we talk about, every political discussion that we have, it's all information warfare. Those guys, they had the script already. It was already written. Like, I mean, it's why we catch these people tweeting about things that haven't happened yet so often.
Right.
Because they have a predefined, at least this is what we want to happen. So I'm going to, like, do the tweet because I'm really hoping this happens. I mean,
it's just, it's craziness. It's craziness. But we're going to continue this. I have quite the story to tell you guys about my mom's COVID experience. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Oh, I'm playing the intro.
Listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason. You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Spring will be here soon, so if buying a new home is on your to-do list, right now is the time to call Quicken Loans. Learn about which mortgage options make sense for you and get a jump on your competition. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Hi, welcome to the Subway ad for the new Sesame Ginger Glazed Chicken Signature Wrap. How would you like it?
I'll take a...
Sports announcer at home?
Yeah, how'd you...
We just know.
My wife picks up the new Signature Wrap. It's got double the rotisserie-style chicken mixed with a sesame ginger glaze. She appears annoyed at me, but she shrugs it off. Those sweet and savory flavors are calling her name. She lifts the wrap and... she takes the bite! Incredible! And now she's closing the door on my... Subway, make it what you want.
Limited time only at participating restaurants. Double meat basement, average 6-inch sub.
I'm little teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
And do I have a story for you? So Lou knows my story, and Stacy, I've been on the phone with Stacy this last few days. So I think everybody knows that my parents had COVID and I had to go back to South Dakota to go take care of them. I was with my mom. She even had to have a course of antibiotics after she was so many days into the COVID because she developed pneumonia. And she has the COVID lung, everything. Recovered. So flash forward, last week, my brother has had this horrible cough and cold, and he's got 3 little ones. They're all like boom, boom, boom in a row, little ones. And so they bring him over to my parents all the time, and they are always like runny noses and coughs and gross, right? This is just what happens with little ones. So my mom gets this cold, and she can't seem to shake it, so she decides that she probably needs antibiotics. She goes last Friday into the doctor's office. This is the same doctor that treated her, mind you. It's not a different doctor, so he didn't know her history. He does a flu test, it's negative. He does a COVID test, it's positive. So in a small town of 400, where a little old lady is in an apartment all the time, never really leaves other than to go a few places, somehow she caught the Brazilian strain of COVID. I mean, it maybe, but I mean, it's fantastical. So I said, Mom, it's dead virus. You don't really have COVID. It's within the 90 days or around there, 3 to 6 months. It's dead virus. Call him back. She calls him back and he says, no, absolutely not. You have COVID again. Didn't run any blood work. Didn't run any other test. And I said, well, how can we prove this? This is nuts. You need the antibody test to prove this. CDC calls my mother on Saturday. Oh, you have COVID. It is COVID again. And again, my mom launches into, well, my daughter says, no, we believe the test. Meanwhile, I'm talking to Stacy, who always does articles on this on PJ Media, and we're both like, this is not possible. It is crazy. But even if it was possible, let's say somehow my mother, it came like anthrax on a letter, like somehow she got the Brazilian strain of COVID on her mail, or through the airwaves, who knows? But somehow my mother got this. Let's just even say it's remotely true. When you suddenly have a patient that's got a COVID positive test, after you know they've had COVID recently, why wouldn't you do the antibody test as well? Why wouldn't you do the blood test? So I'm harping on my mom. You do not have COVID. You do not have COVID. You need antibiotics. You do not have COVID. He gave her ivermectin, which is what they're giving COVID patients. That seems to really help if you have COVID. Of course it didn't help my mom because she doesn't have COVID. So my mom finally goes to the little PA in her hometown. And the PA says, I think you have walking pneumonia. So does another COVID test in the office. It's negative, but sends a COVID test and a blood test off to the state. The COVID test still comes back positive, but guess what? Her antibodies are through the roof. She has the antibodies for it. It is dead virus they're picking up.
Okay. I have an answer to how they're justifying this, though.
Oh, well, because it's Kristi Noem State? Or
Well, no. I seriously, the first thing, Jody, the first thing I said, in your mom in South Dakota, where's your mom? Is she in South Dakota? Because that, of course, that's the first thing that popped into my head. And I guarantee you that they're more focused on the states that they hate because they didn't, in the CDC's mind, they didn't do every little thing that Fauci wanted them to do, right? I truly believe that. But, and they made Trump look good instead of not looking good. So, but the admiral that COVID admiral, I can't think of his name, but you know who I'm talking about, the shorter guy. Yeah. With the good gray head of hair. He's a nice looking guy. And talks like he has a very excellent bedside manner. So I like him because he's really honest. And when Fauci says something, he'll say, I don't know where he's coming from because that is not what happened. But he said that when they were studying the vaccine, that they studied people over 65 and they are about 23% likely to possibly get it a second time. Possibly. But this was in the vaccine study, which was done over a really short period of time and didn't include that many people. So who knows what's really going on here? But that's what he said. That's the data that they have. And I bet you they're using it to justify this whole, oh, little old lady, you have COVID again thing.
Oh, and the thing that's so frustrating is the CDC, I mean, they scared my mother. My mother's in her 80s because my mom is there sitting next to my dad, who actually had a rougher time with the COVID, even though my mom has all these comorbidities. So she's terrified now. She's given it to my dad, right? So they're both freaking out for the last how many days?
The cruelty of this whole affair that's been the most eye-opening for me, especially especially since the election, when everybody was like, okay, Joe's got this, so we're going to do what we want to do. The cruelty of it is mind-blowing. The businesses that are gone, they say that Republicans are a death cult because they don't, for whatever reason that they're saying, right? Because they want people to die. I don't know, but the suicide rate is up higher than it's been in decades.
And if my mom hadn't gotten the antibiotics for the walking pneumonia, she'd probably be dead too. This is what is so frustrating.
And they would have said she died of COVID.
Exactly. Of course they would have said she died of COVID. How many elderly people had the flu in the last year that were not treated properly because they were told they had COVID?
So over the past 3 months, all of the so-called conspiracy theories that have come to fruition, this is just another one, because people have been saying since the first time I ever laid eyes on Rush Limbaugh's TV show, people have been saying that the left wants to make this a communist country. They have. They're cruel. They kill us.
Yeah.
They want to take our guns.
Our land.
Our land. How are they not communist? How are they not straight up fucking Bolsheviks? How are they not? So, explain to me. If you can convince me they're not, that's fine, because the evidence stacks up that they are. So you have to convince me that they're not. The burden of proof is now on you, because I've already proven that they are.
And speaking of burden and proof and how crazy the world is, next topic, FBI.
The FBI has been running Q since Q began. How about that one?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think definitely a portion of it.
They have, and they're so... okay, remember the Rosenstein story? About his about his little hacker group that he had?
Yep.
The FBI has been running Q since Q began. And it's not directly, it's more like Rosenstein's little team that he has. I'm not saying that it's Rosenstein or that it's the guys that he was using to hack people, but I'm saying that it's a similar kind of situation. A degree or two or three, but there's an agent in the mix, guaranteed. Somebody in that line is talking to somebody at the FBI directly.
Well, and you look at everything that went down. You look at how the FBI has concentrated more on the ridiculousness of the Patriots, people storming the Capitol, than the fact that the guy here in Colorado was on a watch list because he had he was talking with people that were definitely involved with ISIS.
Right. So when the kids and their coyotes started moving this way, nobody noticed. They started moving this way in November. They were piled up at the border before inauguration.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody noticed. Nobody said anything. They were right there ready to go. And the coyotes, the cartels, had already made hundreds of thousands of dollars before Inauguration Day. Moving people, dropping them at the border, going to get more people. They had them piled up. There's a huge tent city there. There's tents lining the Rio Grande where they've been moving people since November.
Yeah, and that's not a priority. The drugs, did you see that fentanyl over the border is up 2,000% since Biden, just since Biden's been in office?
Okay, so FBI, let's talk about Matt Gaetz. So everybody heard this story because it was plastered over every single news outlet that Matt Gaetz is, air quote, under investigation, and that it was opened by Barr. Okay, so that first of all, that's a little bit of a twist of the truth, because the investigation that Barr opened was into some other guy in Seminole County, which I don't think Gaetz is from Seminole County, but the guy that was the child trafficker is, right? And it's child trafficking in a sense that he was paying their living expenses, and some of them were 16 or 17 years old. And I am in no means like justifying this at all, because it's a horrible thing, and it's a horrible thing. It's the worst thing.
Right.
And everybody knows how much I hate it. But this guy was like paying their living expenses and getting them apartments and paying them to travel with him and moving stuff around. So it's not like an Epstein kind of thing, but it's still child trafficking, and they should charge him with it. They should hang him from his toenails for it. But at any rate, that's the guy being investigated, and he donated to Gaetz, and someone put Gaetz' name in the mix at some point, but not until March 16th did Gaetz find anything out about it, because somebody came to him and said, give me $25 million, or came to his father and said, if you give me $25 million, I'll make all of this horrible stuff that's about to happen to you but hasn't happened to you yet go away. Of course, everybody said that's alleged and he claims and this, that, and the other thing. But today, the Washington Examiner and Matt Gaetz released the communications from the fellow that he named on Tucker Carlson last night, who's a former Justice Department official under Barack Obama, and now connected to plenty of them. He has a firm and all this stuff. So Gaetz has laid this evidence out, and I will tell you about my history with evidence that Gaetz presents versus what anyone on the left presents, Susan Rice particularly, or any of those people. Mm-hmm. Gaetz will give you the truth before these people will, because he was one of the people behind the Russian collusion investigation, like investigating the investigators. And so, so my history with him is that it turns out more often that he has the true story. That's where it sits right now. But the FBI, well, he has the audio, right? FBI has the audio. So he took his report March 16th to the FBI, and by March 28th, 29th, someone in Congress has been briefed and leaked it to the press.
Oh, of course. Probably Swalwell. I hate that man.
That he was one of the first people I named, too, that the usual suspects. Right? Schiff and Swalwell.
Yeah.
But So, what is the FBI doing? Why did this? So, the FBI in, I'm not sure where he's from, Jacksonville, because there's an FBI field office in Jacksonville, Tallahassee. It's kind of in the North Florida area. But Pensacola, he took it to the FBI. The FBI sets up his father with a wire to talk to the guy. And there was a second meeting that was supposed to take place this week, I think tomorrow, where Gates' dad was actually going to give the guy money. That's the piece you need to make an arrest. And then this intervenes. So this is Gates' story. He works out more than most people do, or certainly more than those people do, as being right.
Right.
So that's all we have. That's really all we have to go on. He's got the evidence in the Washington Examiner. So I'll tweet it in a little bit because it's on my phone. But
it's ridiculous though. Like we said, they have done more. The FBI has looked into school teachers who were touring the Capitol that day that didn't do anything other than follow and take selfies and stuff. They've looked into that more than they've looked into what is going on with this corruption.
The other thing about the FBI is that I read an article yesterday that said judges are getting extremely frustrated with the FBI trying to make charges against people and prosecute people that are basically charged with unlawful entry into Capitol building that's, supposed to be open to the public.
Right. I saw that. I saw where judges, in fact, the zip tie guy, I saw where the judge was like, he's not a threat to society. He can go home. Yeah. He doesn't need to stay incarcerated.
They're trying to keep them in jail, but the reason that they're trying to keep that they're trying to get a release denied, because they think it helps their case, right? So because they're trying to say that this was a dangerous conspiracy and insurrection, and it helps their case for the judge to say, yeah, these people are dangerous.
Oh yeah. And when the judge says no, his mom and him are not dangerous, they can go home. Yeah, exactly. This is completely crazy.
Yeah, and his mom is and his mom is a little. I mean, it's not like a 12-year-old and his mom and his hot mom. She was a little old lady.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, she had all those knit pants my grandma used to wear in the 80s.
Yeah.
I mean,
a muumuu too.
Yeah, I mean,
or those polyester ones that have the crease.
To be honest, she probably wasn't that much older than me, but I mean, it was a little old lady. I'm not hurting anybody in the Capitol either.
Right. Well, and honestly, most of it was, psyop crap. I mean, come on, Buffalo guy is not a Republican.
He's an actor. Buffalo guy is an actor. I'm not saying that he can't be an actor and also be a Q follower, but I agree. Here's one reason that I think that the FBI is behind all of it. Antifa, Q, all of it. Because, and I don't say the CIA because they're supposed to be working overseas and not here, and everybody blames the CIA for everything, so I'm not doing that. But they recruit, they operate online, they do everything the same.
Yes.
Why would you expect me to think, but how can you possibly think that I wouldn't see through that? And I'm not.
Well, did you see the military guy, the former? I think he was a ranger. He was a ranger or SEAL. I can't remember. And I apologize for people in the military that are saying, "How dare you get those two?"
At least you got. At least
how dare you not know?
At least you compared elite to elite.
He was approached. Did you see that video where they came knocking on his door and they wanted him to go like undercover in the Q stuff? Yeah, I'll try to find that and tweet it again. He was actually on somebody's. He actually had video. He videoed the conversation. He actually had video so that he played it on somebody's news show because he was just so disgusted with everything going down because he knew that the government was involved.
We need for you to go undercover in Q. So can you create a Twitter account and a Facebook account and go to this site called 4chan? What is infiltrating Q? It's jumping in chat rooms on Telegram. He wanted them. I think he wanted them. I think it sounded like they wanted him to get involved in all of it. Well, no, I'm being critical. They look like clowns. They look like
Proud Boys. They tried to make I think that was also another one. They wanted him to try to talk to people in Proud Boys or get involved in that.
I'd say yes to that because I will drink beer all day.
Well,
because that's what Proud Boys do.
And that our own state, when that shootings were going down, our own news anchors that were there were talking about the flippin' Proud Boys. No apology at all to Proud Boys later. Like, oh, sorry, my bad. Of course you had nothing to do with a mass shooting.
One thing that's really important to understand, and it's happened in Michigan twice, I think. I know that, the thing with the governor was definitely one, but this is a topic for Al, and I think he's covered it.
Yeah, he did. I listened to him that night.
Right.
Yeah.
So, the people that they get to say yes to that are not nice people like that guy.
Right.
And they're right. And they end up doing really bad things, and they end up getting pressure to do more things. You have to catch somebody. You're still in trouble. You haven't caught enough people. You're not out of
kidnap the governor.
You're not out of trouble yet, and they will string you along like that for years. And so these are the guys that they catch. I don't think that Viking guy was that guy. Now, what did you call him? Did you call him Viking guy?
No, what did I just call him? Buffalo guy.
Buffalo guy. Thank you, because, the whole Viking thing, which got updated, and I'm actually 40% Viking and not 14, which is really interesting. But at any rate, those are the guys that they might turn into the Viking guy, but more often they're going to be the guys that, beat the police officers with a pole.
Oh, yeah. And there's crazy people everywhere. There are crazy people in the Republican Party. There are crazy people everywhere.
And there are crazy people that are informants for the FBI. I mean, they end up, that's my point, they end up with the craziest people that do the craziest things that probably wouldn't be there if it weren't for them.
Right.
So it's not, I guess my point is that not everything is what it seems.
Amen to that. This is a crazy country, but again, I just was saying to Lou during the break, I've gone through like a mourning process, where I'm so sad about the FBI, about our government, about our, how nuts.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that overall, if you look across all of the agencies, DHS and all of its agencies, and the U.S. Marshals, CBP, FBI, the defense investigations, right? That's one of my favorites because several of my professors were with defense investigations. That they're probably as much as 90% good people, but the 10% that are bad are bullies.
Of course.
And rise to the top sometimes.
Yeah, like a Vindman.
Yeah, and I mean, they rise to the top or get appointed to positions because they'll do things that other people won't do. So, on the other hand, there's Chad Wolf. So, I mean,
God, I love him.
Life is good. I have an enormous crush on him. It's like the stupidest crush ever. He's so cute. And he's young enough to be my son and a half, probably. I don't know how old he is. He's probably closer to my age than I think. But
that's another depressing thing. We're getting to that age now where they really could be our children.
That's the other thing that I've reached acceptance on.
Yes.
Like my age relative to other people's age and just my age in general.
Yeah. It beats the alternative, I always say. You know, I have enough friends that have passed on that at a very young age that I guess growing older is actually a blessing.
It is. It definitely is. And on that note, we should probably end because that's like more positive than anything else we said.
Thank you guys for listening in the chat and to all of you that listen while you're driving to work or getting your errands all finished. We will be back next week, and hopefully, I don't know if you guys saw or not, the April 3rd is coming up, and it'll be 4, 3, 2, 1. So we may not be here because maybe we'll be dead. So, because it counted down. So there you go.
The countdown has started.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would just like to say for the record that I'm not accusing the FBI of anything. It's theory, and it was.
And Hillary, we have no evidence on you. So there.
Right, and the music's playing, and I can't stop it. So,
all right, night, guys.
I can't do anything with this.
Well, hopefully people enjoyed that. That was fun, I thought. Just kind of off the cuff. Oh.